edition of IslandStats.com and Sports Inside and Out, the Legends of Sports show right here on IslandStats.com. I'm your co-host along with, my name is Earl Baston, and my co-host is Coach Hatcher. And this evening we have the utmost respect of having Mr. Johnny Newman. Many would know Mr. Newman. He's an NBA Hall of Famer, or NBA legend, Virginia Sports Hall of Famer, who has played for several NBA teams such as Cleveland Cavaliers, New York Knicks, Charlotte Hornets, New Jersey Nets, Milwaukee Bucks, Denver Nuggets, and the Dallas Mavericks. And first of all, let me just say welcome, Mr. Newman, to this particular show that sees Bermuda and the U.S. combining to just broaden the horizons of and bring more awareness of what people such as yourselves have been able to accomplish on and off the courts.
Oh, great. It's great to be here. And Earl, thank you for that extra sauce you put on there. If I could add that jacket one day, that would be a great accomplishment. But definitely, I'm still happy to be in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Being a young, skinny kid coming from Danville and being able to go through college and make it to the NBA for 16 years, I'm definitely proud of those accomplishments. And but that green, if I could get that jacket, I would take it.
Sure. Before I jump to Coach, it's a rarity of having someone play as long as you played. What were some of the things you did to ensure that you stayed healthy enough to play 16 years of professional basketball?
Well, one of the things I prided myself on, I didn't drink or smoke or do any drugs or anything. So I really felt like that definitely helped me. And I try to train year round. Even in the off season, I try to train at the highest level to keep my body up to that level that I could compete and could continue to compete, through the years. And, I just really tried to, take care of myself and, concentrate on my craft and become the best player I could and contribute in the best way I could to the teams that I was playing for.
Well, Coach, you've known Mr. Newman for quite some time. Take us back to when one of the first times you saw him and what you thought about him before his career even really got going.
First time, look, I think first of all, Johnny Newman is like a surrogate son to me and Wally. He is just as, in some aspects, he is just like as close as Dominique. I mean, and the boys to that degree, but and also he's also close to my other sons, Charles and them, and that fraternity thing that they roll around. But we can see very easily the IQ was off the chart. When we first seen him play, he was rolling out of Richmond when Richmond was not, the University of Richmond was not the program there, but because of him and because of his attraction to people and working hard and his ethics and intelligence, he made, really, he was one of the first guys that made Richmond a place to look at even before VCU got into the picture. But his career was very, very impactful. And me and Wally used to love him because I had a son named Gerald that played with him for many years at the Knicks. And playing with Gerald is not the easiest thing in the world. I know that, but that Gerald always thought very highly. And that was very rare coming out of Gerald. He thought he could have, but that's why he made 21. He wanted to say, hey, I'm just as good as Nick. But he really had the utmost respect for Johnny, as do everybody. Johnny Newman, as best tell could be Wally. I'm gonna cut this just a little bit short because we still a little bit in the rhythm of it. He is the only player that we and Wally can talk about, and as well as another guy's name is Joe Bryant. That's Kobe Bryant's dad, Jelly Bean. We talked about it. Yeah, I mean, this guy, he never went to a team and not made the team better. very rare. You got guys that go to a team and just, I mean, we call it stealing money. Uh, but he went, and his career, high double figures in every team that you went to, made a solid impact on that team. I mean, many times the starters would come out, and because of his intelligence and his experience and knowledge of the game and court situations, he would replace starters in the key game. That he was actually that sixth guy that could make things happen positively. And the people depended on his opinion. He could be a good leader. And at his position, he is over 6'5". I don't care what he says. Yeah. But Johnny was able to play 1, 2, 3, stretch 4. Now, come on out of that one. Now, this guy had to be valuable to his team because he didn't specialize in one position. He played them all and made everyone very good because his main thing was his prowess and intelligence on defense. So that was one of the main things besides him. Then after his playing career was over, me and Wally caused him to stay in school programs and shoot for the star programs. And of course, Sports Insider. Now, he is dedicated to the community. He never left it. And his programs are unprecedented and continually unfolding. That's basically what I have to say. I mean, he is truly one of the most respected, as voted, one of the most respected New York Knicks players in history. That says a great deal.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to get to some of those charities in a little bit, but when you would have entered the NBA, it was coming to life. When I say coming to life, a lot of more interest was put into it because of the then balance of teams that had multiple stars on them. What was your thoughts getting drafted to the Cleveland Cavaliers? What was that like for you?
Well, it was very exciting. For a long time, I thought I was going to go 17 for 21. I ended up going 29th to Cleveland. But Cleveland was a very exciting team. I got drafted with 4 other, great all-time players, being Brad Daugherty, which was the number 1 pick. My running mate, Ron Harper, and Mark Price and John Hot Rod Williams had been drafted the year before, but he didn't get a chance to play. But what was exciting is, we had Coach Lenny Wilkens, who was, is one of the all-time greatest. We also had Brian Winters, which was the shooting coach, which was right down my alley also. And Wayne Emery was the general manager that drafted me. So, I was around great people. Phil Hubbard was there. John Bagley, which I think, in my opinion, has always been one of the baddest guards out of Boston College that I've been around and had the opportunity to play with. And he was just, very supportive. Mel Turpin, Dirk Minifield, who was from Kentucky, and my friend and my fellow Virginian, Mark West, who was from Old Dominion, who I played against in college. So I was surrounded by a great group of guys that really helped me and led me, to higher heights and kept me on the right path.
Sure. Well, you mentioned Ron Harper as well. What was that first season like? Because both of you played kind of the same position,
right?
And you battled in training to see who would get that starting position. Obviously, he won out at the beginning of the season. But what was those challenges like for you?
I mean, it was great. We had the utmost respect for one another. Like Coach said, I could play a couple of positions, and I was not only the 2, I was the 3. But Ron, with his long arms, he could do play either one of those positions. I always tease him. He had a little medium range, and he worked hard on that jump shot. But I came in it with a jumper. But we were, till this day, we still are close. But we hung out. We were. If you saw one, you saw the other. But in practice, we competed at the highest level, and we pushed one another, every day. So that was exciting. He was from Miami, Ohio. So Wayne Emery was from Miami, Ohio, also. So I knew he had the edge on me already. But I knew I was going to get my turn, and things happen, and it's a fantastic league. But sometimes you don't walk in the door and get it. And I was basically a year removed from getting my big opportunity, as I'm sure we'll speak about a little later.
Sure. 1 year with Cleveland, and then over to Madison Square Gardens. Take us through that. What was it? A trade, or was it?
Well, back then, it was everything is the salary cap, and like you said, that first year, we were drafted. All of us were starters in that league. And, they already had players on that team, the accomplished players. Like I said, Hubbardub, was an Olympian and all those other guys there. But I wanted to play. And, Coach knows the story. I worked my butt off that summer. And I came in early. And I would never forget, I bought a brand new Corvette convertible. And the guys were calling me the Need for Speed, but it was a nice convertible. And I was going to practice early, and I was leaving. I was staying late because I was really trying to say, hey, something has to happen here. I want to be a starter. So I was going to practice one day, going back early, and I was not speeding. But in Akron, in that time of the year, it gets cold really fast, and you have that black ice. So a car in front of me had slowed down because a car in front of that car was turning, and I went to pass both of them. The car spun out of control. I flipped over onto a telegram post, and remind you all that it was a convertible. So when the car finally stopped flipping, the telephone post was about this far from my body. It didn't touch me, but it was close. And my teammates were coming behind me later on, and they saw the condition of the car. They was like, he did not make it. But I was in the sheriff's car, just waiting, giving my story. So after that, I went on, had an impacted wisdom tooth. That's the only thing that was wrong with me. No other. I had a little cut on my hand, but through that whole time I was competing, and somebody was not going to be on the team because of the salaries. And I had guaranteed money, but it was looking like I was going to be the odd man out. And I can remember the trainer and I, Gary Briggs was the trainer, long-time trainer, Gary Briggs.
That's right.
We were close. And I can remember our practice, and a lot of guys don't understand that back in the day, you would practice, you would run all those wind sprints, all those 30 seconds and back and forth. You would do all that running in practice. You would go to your locker, and they would say, thank you for your service. and especially if you were a free agent. So that day, and it was chatter in the air. Everybody was, the media, they were taking shots at, well, it might be this guy, it might be him, it might be that. I can remember that Gary Briggs came to my locker because they always used to make the trainer do the dirty work. So they told the trainer, they told Gary, tell Johnny that, we want to talk to him. So he looked down. He never looked at me in my face, and he was just so upset about it. And he, just excuse I have one of my little pups in the back. But he told me to, they wanted to see me. So I walked in the room, and I'll never forget. Wayne Emery was there. Coach was there. Brian Winters. I think we had a coach, Dick Helm, was there, and they were saying, "Hey, we want you to go to the CBA, because back then the CBA had your rights, and they could send you to a team so they could keep your rights and keep it working."
That's right.
And I listened to them, and Mr. Emery, which we have been close ever since then. We have been so close. And he said to me, he said, I said, thank you for everything. I said, I've learned so much in a year. You all have taken care of me, everything. And I said to them, I said, thank you, but I'm not going to the CBA. I'm not going to never play there. I'm going to play in the NBA. And that's what I did. And so I went home, and within 2 weeks, I was at home. Rick Pitino, who had recruited me out of high school, called me to come over.
Mm. Oh. Wow.
And the rest is history. And
the rest is, I was just gonna say that.
You know, and my agent called me. He said, I got good news and I got bad news. He said, the good news is that your contract, you're gonna get more money than you were playing for because of the money and switching over.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but the bad news, you have to leave tonight. So I said, hey, no problem, fantastic. So I said, I got there, and when I got there, I was in the limo going to the Hamlet Hotel. When I got to the front desk, Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, the wrestler, was walking in the same time, so I got a chance to meet him. So it was a good start for me in New York.
Sure. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have more with Johnny Newman. We'll be right back.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this? John Barrett & Son is bringing us something fresh and exciting for the new year. Vi Antioxidant Infusion Beverage. Vi delivers the natural antioxidant benefits of the coffee fruit in glorious combination with a variety of exotic fruit flavors, with only 1 gram of sugar and 10 calories per bottle. The folks at Vi are inviting us on a world tour through these amazing flavors. Brasilia blueberry, Zambia Bing cherry, Costa Rica clementine, Malawi mango, Panama peach, Ipanema pomegranate, Kupang strawberry kiwi, and more. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
And welcome back. Well, Mr. Newman, in your career starting off, you said you had the pleasure of meeting the famous wrestler starting. What was that first experience like, getting into the locker room, meeting up with these players, and then becoming one of them?
Well, it was exciting. It was exciting for me. I had watched a lot of basketball. A lot of the guys that I came through with up the ranks, they went to Georgetown. So I had a lot of friends from Georgetown. So, I knew of Patrick, and I had played in the Kenner League up there in college. So I knew Patrick. So it was so, it was just great. I mean, you know, playing in the mecca of basketball. You know, like Coach said, Gerald was there. I mean, you know, Trent Tucker, Mark Jackson. There, you know, it was just great.
Mm. Coach?
Yeah, it was good. You know, the thing that I always remember, we had about his work ethic was one of the great things. We had a agent in our summer league when we were running around with the legends of sports with the we call it the NBA Summer Tour. Johnny, of course, was just coming out of college, but we used to come in and play, run the tours through, bringing up Ralph Sampson and all the guys you remember. Even with my son Dominic, played with us with the Magic Johnson tour for a while. But we talked about with a young man named Roy Sparrow, and Roy was an adamant cat about. He said, Johnny Newman, this guy a damn deal cold blooded, man. And you know that's how we go back in the days. We call it solid. Got a solid cat, man. And so he was there. But meantime, while we were going in, we were still doing what we call actually then it was the Concerned Athletes in Action summer thing we were doing. And Wally said, man, every day this guy is working at the Y. He done took the Y over. It's a Johnny Newman Y. That's all he did. He played, but that's his work ethic. He refined himself so fine that he became automatic in certain situations, and that is IQ. And Wally said, now Wally was a heck of a jump shooter now. He really is with his old self. But I tell you what, that anytime Wally would give you the utmost respect, he said, Coach, just look at him. Complete rhythm, movement, never rushed. Everything was always in rhythm. That's a man that knows where he's going on the court and where he wants to be on the court. Johnny could pass it off when he didn't get something. He made everybody look good. But when he got that feeling in him, and he was so very, very close to that sweet spot he used to have, 2 or 3 or 4 of them, then he was something to be admired because he was, I would say, during them days, it was going in, no question, or he was reboundable. And that's what he brought to the Knicks. Had it in Cleveland, heard Brad Daugherty talk about it when he was with NASA about how impactful Johnny was. And but this young man is so special. And if anybody's on every team, you can't come to every team and make the team successful and put a plus on every team without rubbing somebody wrong. Mm. Because of his demeanor, his respect, and his work ethic, and his IQ, he know exactly how to appease egos. He's very smart at that, you know. And he make you seem like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take your job, but listen, it ain't because of what I'm doing, you know. It's because what they're doing to get me in a situation. So he was very interesting and very smart. I mean, it's been, oh my gracious, 20. Oh man, I don't know how long we've been knowing this little whippersnapper, but I'm gonna tell you, he's truly one of the blessed cats in our consortium of ball players with all of us from Ralph, even Moses, and all the cats. God bless his soul. I'm so proud of it and everything he deserves in this particular branch of his life. He's very, very much earned everything. His reputation is impeccable. One of the best businessmen in the Retired Players Association auspices. He's got to be one of the top 3, and that's some pretty successful guys. So I can't say nothing but greatness about him. And believe me, Earl, you won't be the last time seeing him. He has a great deal to give, not just to work, to content, but to what he can describe in the realms of basketball. Yeah,
sure. Well, I do want to ask Mr. Newman, the times you would have played against the likes of Larry Bird and Magic and the like, and the big household names, are those the type of players you wanted to kind of play defense against, to be the one to say, you know what, let me shut these guys down tonight?
I tell you, I wanted it. You know, I didn't run for any challenge. I never have. I still don't. You know, I knew that not only was I going to be aggressive, but I could score too. So I wanted my scoring to be some of my defense on some of those guys, and I've had some great games. And you know, I didn't, unfortunately, because of some of the teams I played, I had some marquee players along beside me, so I didn't get a chance to make it to the All-Star game. I was on the ballot 1 or 2 times when I was in Charlotte, but it didn't make it. But I tell you, you know, some of the comments back in the day from the Larry Birds and some of the other players that, hey, you know, we're talking about, you know, small forward. New York's looking for a small forward, and they had one right there with Johnny Newman. So, you know, getting the respect of guys, you know, of that caliber, you know, it was just great, you know.
Yeah. So from your time playing to today's game, how much of the game has changed in your eyes?
Wow. I mean, a lot of the game has changed, and, you know, a lot of other things, you know, dressing, you know, fashion changes, a lot of things changes, but you know, the game has changed. It's still a great game. We were, you know, we were just so competitive night in and night out, on and off the court. It was just a different game, and you know, back then you could put your hands on people, and people can put
That's
their
right.
hands on you.
That's
So
right.
it's a little
That's
different.
right.
You know, you had to work a little hard. You had to be, you know, I won't say the word tough, but you had to be real focused and know your angles and try to still be able to get to where you wanted to get to on the basketball court.
And that's that IQ, Earl.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that really people don't realize it's all geometry. Cutting off the court, cutting your hair, creating angles, all of it's nothing but geometry. But you have to have the IQ to be able to recognize and incorporate that into your mental.
Mhm.
You know, so it becomes something that's a part of your game. And that's what made guys like Johnny, and I have to say, even my stepson Dominique, these guys were naturally inclined to do things that other people couldn't do because they could actually look like they could see it before they did it. And they studied, they studied, they studied. If in the old days, you had to study. Johnny can tell you. It was no such thing as just jumping up, going out and playing somebody and watch the guy just go to school on you.
Right.
So what you did, if you got assigned to that guy, you studied his good habits, his bad habits, where you can make him go, where you don't want to go, and those small things like he was telling you about. He showed up because then he made his offense his defense, and his defense could be part of his offense. So therefore, he studied. He was one of the most intelligent kids and hardworking kids that I've ever seen in the league, and I've seen quite a few.
Right.
Yes.
I can remember my rookie year that Dennis Johnson put that claw on me.
Yeah.
And,
Football. Yeah.
I was like, I got to go to the weight room, but I tell you, you know, and definitely rest in peace for him. But he was, you know, he was like, young fella, you're gonna be all right. And I never forget that. You know, definitely those type of players. You know, when they compete and they go at you, but you know, if they see something in you, you know, they give you that, you know, that little nod, or they give you those few words, and I tell you, those are career lasting comments and looks.
Who would you say was your most toughest opponent?
I tell you, I tell you, that is so difficult, you know, of a question, Earl, because, you know, I played the 2 and the 3.
Mhm.
So, you know, if you went, like Coach just said, if you had to go down there and go against the human highlight film, Dominique Wilkins, the next night you might fly up and you might fly out and go out to Phoenix, and you had the likes of, you know, Eddie Johnson come around screen shooting the lights out. Then you would have to go out to LA, and oh my goodness, you had Big Game James, or you had Byron Scott. So you know, and we're not even going to talk about when you go to Chicago and you didn't want to go to Detroit, you know, because you had to go against, you know, the microwave, Joe Dumars. You get switched off on Isaiah, and he trying to dance on you. You know, I mean, during that time, you know, Larry Legend, that he's shooting it, and he telling you what he gonna do before he do it. So you know, it's just that in that era, I tell you, you had to be focused. If you wanted to be a solid player, you wanted to be a great player, you wanted to be consistent, you had to compete every night. It was no nights off. No nights off.
That's right.
Well, let me ask you, because I mean, we in Bermuda, we got to watch a lot of NBA on Saturdays and Sundays, especially Sundays, and then holidays, obviously. Now NFL is competing with it. But when you started naming off some of these guys, were you ever kind of starstruck at the beginning of your career that I'm actually on the court with Larry Bird, with, you know, some of the superstars of the game?
Well, I'll tell you, the only one I was starstruck at Kareem. I was watching that sky hook. Okay, I was watching how they just waited for him. Magic waited for him and then threw it, and he was throwing that sky hook. I was in awe of Dr. J. Dr. J and the Iceman George Gervin were my favorites growing up.
Right.
And, you know, just catching them that year, I can remember that the doctor was making my first year, the doctor was making his farewell tour. And he got a steal, and I was in the backcourt. And something told me to run him down. But I was like, what I'm gonna do? I ain't gonna, the good doctor just gonna have to score that. So I let the good doctor go, and we had the opportunity to know each other prior to me getting drafted. So, you know, the doctor has always been a class act and always just been everything to me. You know, and we talk about it, you know, Coach knows we talk about it in some of the events that we get to go to, some of the ones that Coach has done. And it's just been great. But those were the players that I was in awe. Everybody else, I'm trying to come at you. Know, to come after you. So, you know, that's just how it was.
Sure. We're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get into these off the court adventures that you're involved in, especially helping out with the young people. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, you know, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seen this?
Here's one of our favorite feature brands, true veterans of the food awareness movement. Bob's Red Mill, the U.S. leading miller of organic whole grain foods. Only whole grains have the entire value developed during growth. And once you try them, you know that this is the way food was intended to be. Try Bob's Red Mill blanched almond, whole wheat pastry, and artisan bread flours, and 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour, unsweetened shredded coconut, gluten-free homemade wonderful bread mix, and a variety of rolled oats. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Welcome back. Well, Mr. Newman, what guided you to become the person you are off the court before we get into you know your charity work and what you do for young people?
Well, definitely, you know, my upbringing, you know, my parents and my grandparents were very instrumental for me. You know, they taught me, you know, the value of hard work and respect. You know, I didn't have any options, you know, other than to do the right thing when I was coming up, you know, between my dad and my mom and my grandfather. But I saw the value of hard work and developing, you know, people that knew that they could depend on you. That was important. And I learned that early. And, you know, that you know, your name and everything that you stand for is sitting on, can you be dependent upon? Can you be trusted? Can you know, can people depend on you to do what you say you're going to do and do a good job at it? So I understood that early. And so I picked that up on that, and it just stuck with me. Again, I didn't really have too many choices because my dad was pretty strict. So you know, those are the things that I learned early and just have been you know, attached to me and in my DNA my whole life.
So, Coach, tell us a bit about what you know about this young man and what he's been able to do off the court.
One of the best clinicians that we have now. When you talk about clinicians, our bones for what me and Wally and the old timers did, because a lot of kids don't even aware. Most of my career, of course, was overseas. Is your brand? You know, your brand is the. I think Johnny kind of alluded to it when he's talking about doing what you're supposed to be doing and what people think of you, admire you. That is your brand, and that's very cognizant of you. If your brand is that everyone respects that brand, which means respects you, then you're on the way to making an impact on a lot of people's lives, even if it's nothing but one, that one teaches one. Johnny probably, we've seen more in Johnny in Richmond, Virginia, which is not a breadbasket of a lot of activity. He turned the clinician activity and atmosphere to a point that all the players of substance, from the Gerald Hendersons to the Jesse Darks to, you know, to all of, even Ben Watson, all of the guys, they would answer because he took the lead. Wally, of course, felt completely. We were Sports Inside Out was the genesis of what we did with guys like Johnny. And Johnny took it over and made it into what you call a steroid clinician program, because he came with so many innovative things. No one was talking about Parents' Day, father and son day, mother and daughter day. I mean, he took it into a situation that he had it was so good that the Virginia Commonwealth University gave him the arena to make sure he's impactful. The mayor, all those of any what you call substance, had total respect for him. When you mention Johnny Newman's name, even today, I'm proud because we're not far from that the way he lives down in Central Virginia area. You know, you got guys like Tim Reed, a dear friend, one of the great actors. You got guys that really, really respect his brand for what he does off the court with his community, because he is so dedicated to it. His programs are going very small, simply spreading. And this is something that we're going to do, God willing, that we can continue to do it. Is my mission statement to you, your audience, even the ones in England and around, man, is we're going to bring to you the greatest legends of substance, brand, and impact, those that truly help make the game. And I can confidently say, with all the love, and if Wally was here, he'd be talking about the young buck needs to learn how to shoot a jumper. But he's truly that close to us. And I don't know of many people, as I said before, Earl, that from the old grinders that made the game up, and for what he's gone through, nobody can say anything negative about Johnny Newman, unless if they do, I think it's time to run. Get away from him, you know, because he's turned that same brand into a great businessman and become a really economic value to the entire city of Richmond and beyond, because he's done some other things. Yeah.
So, Mr. Newman, tell us about your ventures. I mean, what Coach said is really intrigued me. I just want to know, and how can people get involved?
Right. Well, we've done the camps for years. I started out doing basketball camps when I was in the 10th grade. I was slipping in the YMCA. Didn't have the money for my dad didn't want to give me the money for a membership. He didn't see the need, but I was slipping in there, and I was, playing around with the kids. So they saw how well I was working with the young kids. They said, "Hey, we're gonna give you. Why don't you start refereeing, and we'll give you a membership?" So I started refereeing YBA a little bit, and then they said, "Hey, we're gonna give you your own basketball camp." So it started there. So those camps have been there for a long time. We just stopped doing, several years ago, stopped doing the summer leagues, but we had one of the baddest summer leagues here in Richmond that I started and I put together, and I had guys from the league would come every week. We would have someone different there. We started the father and son because we really was seeing that, there were a lot of single families out there, a lot of single mothers. They were, having some communication differences. When the fathers are not there all every day, or even when they're there, it's hard to communicate, especially with the new youth we have of the day. But so we would do a camp and let them compete against each other, and then let them compete against other father-son combinations. So we developed the teamwork. So hey, they had to communicate. And then they were like, "Well, Dad, you've been telling me about that crossover. Your crossover looked pretty good." So now they want to really listen more and more. So we really have pushed that out, and we look forward to bringing that back, post-COVID this coming summer. I do a lot with the Police Athletic League. I think that's important, especially for our, Black youth, our Black male youth. Respecting the police officers, understanding that they are, in most situations, they're not your enemy, but it's still out there. How to deal with it, how to try to, talk to them or respond. Your responses are big. So we, I do a lot. I am the president of the Henrico chapter, and we're getting ready to build probably a $10 or $15 million facility for our youth. I want to do something real impactful to leave, a legacy in a lot of other areas, but, having a space for our youth and their parents to get better is very important to me. And we're doing some fantastic stuff with some elementary schools in the Danville, Virginia area through my foundation, my wife and I. So, we've been very busy. I love the real estate as far as on the business side. I'm very big in that. I have several projects going now, and I look forward to doing some other ones in the near future. I'm going to let the interest rates come down a little bit more. But I am looking forward to a lot of those activities.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, how much do you see in some kids that you would have seen when you looked in the mirror in the morning?
Wow. And Coach, man, he's always just been one of my favorites, and all the kind words. I got to piggyback on him a little bit. I just don't see the focus. When I had the focus when I came out, I was hungry every day. I just wasn't hungry, Monday through Friday. I was hungry Monday through Saturday through Sunday, and I was trying to develop another day to be hungry. So, I was really hungry to learn and to compete. And I used to tell these youngsters now, don't be afraid to compete. Don't be afraid to audition your game. But they want to cherry pick now. I'll play this game. I'll play that game. Or I don't want to play against him. I didn't feel that way. I was just hungry all the time, and I was not afraid to audition my basketball game.
And looking at just you talking about that, how much work did you put in prior to competing? What was the work ethic like, training and preparing for what is a basketball game? What is it, 40 minutes, 50 minutes?
Right.
But how much work were you putting in prior to those games?
Oh, I was putting a lot of work in. I tell you, in college, I wasn't supposed to have it, but somehow I had a key to the gym and a key to the light switch because they used to keep the lights off in there.
Yes.
And I could get in that gym and I would, do my class work and then I would go back in the gym. I would put a lot of work in. I know I would at least shoot, 1,000 plus jumpers a day. And I would run. I'm from the old school, so I had a weight jacket, and I would run in that weight jacket and slide in that weight jacket, and dribble that ball. I wasn't trying to be Curly Neal. I was trying to get to that basket and dunk on
Well, let's take our final commercial break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up this edition of the IslandStats.com and Sports Inside and Out show. We'll be right back.
It seems everyone knows someone who's lactose intolerant or just avoiding dairy products. And fortunately, there's a growing array of delicious and nutritious alternatives. Pacific Natural Foods have been doing things their own way simply and sustainably for over a quarter century, making non-dairy beverages with the finest possible ingredients right down to the packaging. Try Pacific Natural Original and Vanilla Hemp Milk and Almond Original Plant-Based Beverage, all sweetened or unsweetened, and low-sodium organic vegetable or chicken broth. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
And welcome back. Now, Mr. Newman, what was the best advice ever given to you, and who was that person that gave it to you?
Man, best advice. I tell you, I'll say something that was impactful for me. I don't know if it was advice; it was encouragement, and it came from my grandfather, who was from South Carolina. Grew up in I won't say plantation, but a plantation type setting. Never played any sports. I was working with him. He had a landscaping business, and I was young. I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, and it was two small white ladies that had a nice house, but their yard was not of grass, it was ivory. So weeds would get in there. So that day he took me by there to pull the weeds up in that ivory yard. So he knocked on the door, he rang the doorbell, and he let them know, hey, we're going to do your yard today. This is my grandson, and he's going to do the work. And she says, Ma, he's tall. And out of nowhere, my grandfather said, yes, he loves basketball, and he's going to play in the NBA one day. And when my grandfather said that, it started. He knew I would go to the playground and play. He never came to a game. He never went to the playground with me. But for him to have that type of confidence in me, and it just took me to a whole nother. It was something that I never forgot. I always wanted to make him proud. I always wanted to make him feel like I would always wanted to step up for him because he had that confidence in me, or really, without seeing it, he didn't come around. So I never forgot that. It stays with me till this day. It was one of the most inspiring days of my life. To hear him when he told those two ladies that he loves basketball and he's gonna play in the NBA one day.
Wow. Impactful, huh?
Impactful.
Yeah. Well, Coach, let me let you end this segment of the IslandStats.com.
Well, you see how much we enjoy what we do, Earl. For the
Yes.
listeners to see this type and be up close and hear the private side of the cast we do, I'm gonna give just a 3 minutes, a quick little elevator. It's very few. I always bring the cream out. We make sure we bring those that me and Wally feel and the others feel that you and the audience can feel a real legend that is not arrogant in any shape, form, or fashion. That is a what you call fan product on the court behind what he does. He's people in our era and going up to Johnny's era took pride in their craft, took pride in the way their brand is being done. I can only say one thing. Not only this is the jovial thing. I talk it over my wife. She's gonna kill me after. I'm gonna tell you right now. Johnny Newman is one of the dressingest men I've seen a lot of cats. I've seen him in Europe. I've seen him around. But this guy has a brand that's unmatchable in professional sports. I don't know about nobody else, actors and whatnot, but wherever he goes, you can tell him he's Johnny Newman. From the All-Star games, for any place we go, and the things that we involve ourselves with, and many times we do something, in different games and whatnot, but he's always there representing Johnny Newman's brand. And that alone inspires a lot of people. And I don't think Johnny will realize everybody, including his peers, are very respectful for and admire his brand. It is something to behold, and I'm so proud of him. Listen, you're not going to see Johnny not be on this show because his brand and help for us, Earl, is going to be more out there when we start working on the WNBA All-Star games, those specific. And we do have another Virginia Squire Union, Johnny. I kind of heard you say that.
Okay.
But we're going to do another one back at Scope with Julius and them. Is their farewell to the team that made their careers. That's George Gervin and I. So, of course, that are favorites of him. And I will just venture to say, now with Earl passing, it's always great because Johnny Newman is going to be at every NBA or Legend project that we're going to be there and be very representable. But for fans, I hope you enjoy this type of nuance of talent that we bring to this particular joint venture of shows around the world, particularly even in England. I'm so proud of that. And Johnny, welcome again for resurrection of your new style of. I know you got something new out there, but we really appreciate everything, and you are so loved in our Wally and my family, man. That you should be very appreciative and confident, but knowing that you are loved and respected like that. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, coaches. I always have much love back to you, your family, Wally and his family. You all are great people. Sports Insider and all is at the top of my list. And even if I have to adjust my schedule, I'm willing to do that because I know what you all do, what you all mean. to the world of sports and what you are conveying with all the information from all the great players who have, participated in not only basketball, but all sports. And
Right.
you all get the first hand on it. And thanks so much always for all the kind words.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure of mine to get a chance to talk with you after watching your career blossom. And, having this opportunity, I think it's even more special for me now that I've got an opportunity to talk with you and converse with you and pick your brain just a little bit and let you reminisce. Because it's important. It's important that, people hear your story from you as opposed to someone telling your story about you.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why Coach and I do these type of things, because we want to make sure that the legends have a voice, and we offer this platform for those legends to share their words, their message, and their experiences, because guaranteed there's a youngster in the sport right now going through college, going through high school, that will take some inspiration from this, knowing that you went through it, they can get through it.
Right. We would love to be, Coach. We would love to be in studio so we can do a couple of shows, and then I can go to the beach.
Oh,
So,
you
look forward to that.
he want to come to Bermuda. Yeah. All right.
I picked up on that just now.
Yeah, you'll pick up on. He go. If Tim Reed comes, somewhere down the line.
Yes, we're gonna be
right
here. Yeah, you're gonna be here. Definitely. Well, again, Coach, thank you. Mr. Newman, thank you very, very
Thank you.
much.
Thank
And
you.
folks, we'll be back very soon with another edition of INSS.com and Sports Inside and Out, the Legends of Sports Show. Thank you and have a good night.